Good afternoon, my third graders. Today we're going to be continuing our talk about insects and move on to flowers. So all week we've kind of been discussing different insects and where they get their food and how their food chain works and everything that's similar to that. Well, today we are going to continue that talk and talk about where flowers get their food and how their food cycle works. So yesterday we talked about bees and how bees get their honey from the nectar they eat on flowers. So yesterday we made these, and today we're going to be using them, so be sure you have these with you. Before we start anything, I would like you to pause this video and watch the video that I sent the link with you home. This is going to teach you all about how pollen gets from one flower to the other, because this is how flowers get fed, along with water that comes from the sky, or if flowers are planted by humans, then the humans would water the flowers as well, other than just being watered by the rain. So when you're done with the video, come back and we are going to complete a little activity that shows how this works. So the bee is going to, your fingers are going to represent the legs on the bee. This is one flower and this is another. If we were in the classroom, each of you would just have your own flower, and you would get the opportunity to travel from your flower to a friend's flower. But in this case, we're just going to use mine too. So, to begin, the bee would start on this flower. When they're eating the nectar, pollen is going to get stuck to their legs. So again, in the real classroom, I would give you guys the opportunity to eat the Cheetos that are representing the pollen and the nectar. But in this case, we're just going to move them from one bag to the next. So, if the bees are eating this, and the nectar is going into them for their food, but food is being taken out of this flower, what do you think is going to happen next? Again, in the real classroom, I would give you guys an opportunity to turn and talk with your neighbors and then share out loud what you think may happen. So once the bee is done eating its nectar, it's going to fly to the next one, to the next flower, and land on it. So if the bee lands on this flower, and the pollen was on its legs, where do you think the pollen will go? Well, this shows that the pollen is going to go to the next flower. And that is exactly what the Cheetos represent. So the pollen gets stuck to the bee's legs, and when the bee flies to the next flower, the pollen comes off onto the next flower, and that is their way of getting food. That's why bees are important in the food cycle for plants. So again, now I'd like you to pause this video and complete the worksheet that I sent home with you. In this worksheet, you're going to draw and write a sentence on what you think each item represents. What your fingers represent, what the Cheetos represent, and what the bags represent. So go ahead and pause the video and complete your worksheets. So now, if we were in the real classroom, we would go over the worksheets, I would collect them for a grade, and then I would give each of you a sticky note. The sticky note would be your exit ticket for the day. And on that sticky note, you would write what stuck with you. So for example, for me, I would write that I now know that bees are a very important piece of the food cycle for plants. Now you have a sticky note with you now, and I would like you to take the time to write down what stuck with you in today's lesson and bring it in for class tomorrow, and we'll discuss them.